We have an NHL trade to discuss. The Vegas Golden Knights and the Chicago Blackhawks have swapped forwards. We'll jump into the details coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. Now, as I mentioned, we have an NHL trade have taken place here today I want to discuss. It's not a big trade, fairly minor, but still one that could pay off longer term for each of these teams if these players find a new start here and get their careers back on track. Now, the Chicago Blackhawks have traded 25-year-old forward Dylan Sikura to the Vegas Golden Knights in exchange for 29-year-old forward Brandon Pirri. Now, both of these players originally drafted by the Chicago Blackhawks. In the case of Dylan Sikura, he was drafted by the Hawks, went through the college hockey scene, played 4 years at Northeastern University, came out of there with some pretty high expectations, signed his contract at the end of his fourth year at Northeastern, got into the NHL. He's played 47 games with the Hawks so far, mostly on the wing, a little bit of center, but really hasn't developed much. He scored one goal so far. I believe he's got 13 or 14 points, but he has been a really solid player at the AHL level, so there's still some hope to his career here to kind of, develop into more than what it has so far. Although, at 25 years old, it's hard to say exactly what he'll become. Same with goes for Brandon Pirri. Now, Brandon Pirri's a unique case, and in my opinion, he's a better player than what he's been given credit for. Like, 29 years old, started with the Blackhawks, was traded to Florida. He's played with Vegas now for a few years off and on, up and down between the NHL and AHL, but he's scored a lot and has taken advantage of a lot of his opportunities. I find it very surprising he has not been able to stick longer term consistently at the NHL level. He even had a 20-goal season with the Panthers, and then the next year was traded. So certainly bizarre. Like, even in Vegas, like, at one point he played 2 games but had 3 goals, and he came up the next year and scored a few goals in a few games. Like, he was pretty useful guy. But for some reason, he just could not stick. Now, Pirri mostly plays center ice, has played some on the wing as well. So it's a minor trade. Hopefully either of these players can kind of get themselves on track here, find a regular spot. I know for Sikura, it's going to be really hard. If Pirri couldn't find a regular spot in Vegas, I find it hard to imagine that Sikura will. But at the same time, they do need some younger players in there overall. They don't have a very hugely deep prospect pool because they've only been in the NHL for a few years. So I can see why they take a chance. Cap hit wise are pretty much the same. Pirri makes $775, Sikura makes $750, so there's very little change that way. I think it's just a case of each player kind of getting a fresh start, fresh opportunity. I don't know. I mean, we saw Chicago and Vegas play in the Stanley Cup playoffs this year. Of course, neither of these players really got into any games though, or really had any kind of an impact. So certainly, a fairly minor deal, which could, like I said, could pay off longer term. I think Brandon Pirri will stand a better chance to get a more of a regular spot in Chicago than he has with Vegas. Like I said, he scored a fair bit. Like, Brandon Pirri has 72 goals in 275 games played. I mean, that's a pretty good ratio for like a goal-scoring center iceman. So, like I said, I find it hard to believe how he hasn't been able to stick consistently. And he as well, like Sikura, has really good AHL numbers. So it goes to show, like, they're almost too good for the American Hockey League, but not quite good and consistent enough to be in the NHL like on a regular, everyday basis. So we'll see what happens here. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I'm sure we're getting some more significant trades to talk about here in the very near future. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.